let us talk a little bit about the overall tournament and who you believe in this format is the favorites and who you feel are some dark horses that might be able to contend in this tournament as well.
Yes, so we can do an in-depth analysis in the coming weeks.
Right.
But for now, let's give us some, not an in-depth, but just a scratch of the surface to our fans. So I believe when it comes to T20 World Cup, India and West Indies are my favorites, because India at this moment, they have a nice headache, because they have a selection headache on their hands, because the reason is right now the Indian national team, they are playing practice matches for English test tour, while they are not the second string, but they are kind of B team is playing Sri Lankan national team on India Sri Lanka one day and T20 tour. And on that tour, there have been massive performances, like one of your favorites, Mumbai Indians, Surya Kumar Yadav. He's brilliant over there. Then
he better make the team. He better make the team this year.
So you have Rishabh Pant.
Yeah.
I mean, batsman, you have Kohli. I mean, when it comes to Virat Kohli, there is no concept of whether he's in form or out of form. He's always in form. When it comes to big tournaments, he always has that kick. He delivers. And guys like Shikhar Dhawan, he's out of this team. I mean, Shikhar Dhawan is an opener who would have played all formats in any other team. And you have Rohit Sharma. And these guys, not just they are on their peak of their careers, experience-wise, exposure-wise, they know what to do. You have Jasprit Bumrah. Bhuvneshwar Kumar was doing pretty well in Sri Lanka at this moment. And Krunal Pandya, I saw he was delivering some fantastic spells. So everywhere you have so much of talent. So let's get into deep level next week. But for the moment, I would say it's India and West Indies, just because West Indies, they always come, when it comes to T20, they have that advantage, big hitting power players. So that's where I take the two favorite teams. But then you have England. England might be a team that challenge these two teams. And if there are any dark horses, I would take New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand haven't proven anything, but they can be. Again, they have the tendency when it comes to T20, they haven't proved anything. Even in the last few T20 World Cups, they reach to semi-finals, quarter-final stages, and just go off. So I think they can be a dark horse.
Yeah, and I'm right along there with you, Varuna. I think, the top four teams are definitely India, probably being the favorite for all of the reasons you talked about. They just have the most depth and have the right type of makeup of team for this type of format. West Indies, the same type of thing. In this condensed T20 format, obviously being able to have sprinters, meaning people that could throw the ball really hard, people that could hit the ball really far. Obviously, that gets accentuated in, a 20 over type setting. I also think that Australia is always going to be a tough team just because they have, they have the depth and just the pedigree of being competitive at any level. And then my fourth was going to be England, just because they're coming off of a World Cup. They obviously have some, really great talent that could definitely make waves. And like I said, in this tournament, you could have a team when it could be just about 2 or 3 players, a few batters that could go deep, a few bowlers that could get hot at the right time, and that could change the overall makeup of your team, which is why I believe my dark horse is actually going to be South Africa. And the reason why I think South Africa could make a name is because they have one of the most dominant bowlers in T20 in Kasada, and also they have Quinton de Kock as a very strong T20 batsman as well. So with those two players, if they hit stride at the right time, that could be enough to carry a team, into some victories that may have been, victories that they couldn't have got in any other form. But in T20, having 2 or 3 stars really is going to be what sets you apart. So those are kind of my favorites and my dark horses as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's do an in-depth analysis next week.
For sure, for sure. But
Yeah.
overall, this is to me the most exciting tournament to watch because it's all action. There's strategy involved, but it's really you can have your stars show up, have the big stars show up, show out, and can dominate a tournament, which makes it really fun to watch. So we'll definitely get more in depth in future shows. So let's move on. Obviously, this tournament initially was supposed to be played in India. Due to COVID, it's moved now. So tell me now that the venue has changed, how do you feel like it's going to affect India's title chances moving forward?
So I don't think it will affect India's title chances. The primary reason being the four locations would be Dubai, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, and Oman, Muscat. So all these Indian players, they have the experience playing in UAE because IPL was held in UAE previously. So they know these conditions. Another thing is that these pitches, they are not going to change too much from what they get in India. Might be lower on the scoring side. If you take like Wankhede Stadium, the Mumbai Indian home ground, it's a very good high scoring pitch. Again, in Chandigarh, you have Kings Exide Punjab. Their pitch is a very good batting friendly pitch. But overall, the venue should not take any effect from Indian team's performance. The other aspect would be that when it comes to international tournaments, ICC conducting tournaments, the pitch curators are the local guys, but still the responsibility for how that pitch affects what kind of a pitch they are going to prepare is decided by ICC. Even though India is that is the practice. Even though whatever the country is hosting, they cannot prepare a pitch that suits them, that gives them an additional advantage. So India, I believe, already prepared for this because right now the way India team is preparing, their confidence, their level of talent surpasses whatever the conditions that is put in front. I mean, yes, we talked about the conditions were being at a disadvantages for them in the World Test Championship final, but there are a lot of factors, and it's just a one-off game. So that's why I think India maybe this works, especially it's getting delayed for another 1 year means India has found another set of young players. So day by day, it's like magically these new players appearing in all corners of India. So I think they have a very good setup environment. So this is just another home away from home for India.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this actually, I think, can benefit them because of the pressure that I think is going to be on this team, right? So if you're playing in front of your home fans, obviously there's a lot of pressure. India is going to be one of the favorites. They're going to be expecting a lot. So this can be actually be kind of like a blessing in disguise because India has come up so short in the last, few major tournaments as far as being able to actually hoist one of these trophies, right? So the T20 is a tournament where India expects to be very strong. If they're playing at home, obviously in front of those fans, they're going to expect them to get that victory. So why this is beneficial, I think, is much like you said. Obviously, IPL is played in Dubai this last upcoming season. So a lot of pretty much every single player that's going to be on the India team is in the IPL and played on these pitches. So and these wickets. So I believe that this is going to be beneficial to India because they could get away from all of that pressure that they hear on a consistent basis playing under their home lights, but still have that familiarity like it is a home match because they played all of those matches in the IPL in that. And obviously knowing the pitch that you're playing on is a definite benefit. You just highlighted that when we were talking about how New Zealand may have had the upper edge against against India in the Test match, but
Yes.
Test match finals. But every single Indian player has played on this pitch. Can't be said the same for these other teams who only had a few players here and there that were a part of that tournament. So I think that gives India actually a leg up over the rest of the competition just because of that familiarity. And then also, even though there will still be pressure on them, it won't be as intense as when they're playing in front of their home fans. So I expect to see the best out of India because of these circumstances. And, hopefully they're hoisting that trophy at the end of it.